In the Strait of Hormuz, the ships are still stuck. Iranian tankers are still searching for a way out. And the American Navy continues to choke Tehran's sea routes. At the same time, the Revolutionary Guards are sending new proposals to the United States, demanding that the blockade be lifted, money be released, guarantees be given, and the nuclear issue be pushed to a later stage. So does Iran really want to end the war, or is it only trying to buy time to breathe, rearm, and return to threatening Israel in the name of Jerusalem? I'm Yair Pinto, and this is a special ground report from Jerusalem ahead of Jerusalem Day. But today, we will not begin with the walls. We will not begin with the songs. We will not begin with the beautiful images of the old city of Jerusalem. We will begin with the war that's happening right now. Because even today, as we stand here in Jerusalem, the city is not only a historic site, it is a target, it is a symbol, it is a tool of propaganda, and it still stands at the heart of the war that Iran and its proxies are waging against the state of Israel. In Tehran, the Iranian regime is trying to project strength. It speaks as if it still holds powerful cards. It threatens in the Strait of Hormuz. It sends messages through mediators. It demands that the United States end the naval blockade, remove its forces from the region, lift sanctions, release frozen assets, and end the fighting on all fronts, including Lebanon. But beneath the grand language, there is another reality. Iran has taken heavy blows from Israel and the United States. Air defensive systems were hit. Military and industrial facilities were damaged. Missile and launch systems were worn down. Senior figures inside the Iranian system were eliminated. And today, the main pressure point is no longer only in the air. It is at the sea. The American blockade on Iran has become a weapon of war. Ships are being inspected. Routes are being blocked. Tankers are being forced to change course. Iranian oil remains stuck at sea. And when the oil does not leave, the money does not come in. And when the money does not come in, the Revolutionary Guards struggle to fund the system that they built around Israel. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Gaza Strip, the militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, all of them are part of the same axis. All of them live in one way or another. They live on Iranian money, Iranian weapons, Iranian training, and an Iranian worldview. And this is where we come to Jerusalem. Because when Iran speaks about Israel, it almost never speaks only about borders. It speaks about liberating Jerusalem. When Hezbollah talks about its war, it talks about the road to Jerusalem. When Hamas launches the October 7th attack, it did not call it the Gaza flood. It called it the Al-Aqsa flood. The question is why? Why would a terror organization from Gaza going out to slaughter Israeli civilians in the communities in the south of the country chose the name of a mosque in Jerusalem? Why does a Shia regime in Iran, hundreds of miles away from here, uses the Temple Mount again and again to justify terrorism? And why do Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, the militias in Iraq, all return to the same symbol, Jerusalem? The answer is simple and difficult. Jerusalem is the emotional trigger of the Middle East. Whoever succeeds in convincing millions of people that Jerusalem is in danger can turn a political war into a religious war. He can turn terrorism into a mission. He can take a young man in Gaza, in Lebanon, Iraq, or Iran, and make him believe that he is not attacking civilians, he's defending Al-Aqsa Mosque. And this is one of the most dangerous lies in this region. For decades, the claim has been spread that Israel is is planning to harm the mosques on the Temple Mount. That claim began already in the days of the Mufti Haj Amin al-Husseini in the 1920s and the 1930s. Since then, it has become a permanent tool in Palestinian, Arab, and Islamist discourse. But the facts tell a different story. In 1967, when Israel liberated the old city, it could have acted like other empires in history. Many conquerors in Jerusalem turned the houses of worship that those before them worshipped in into their own houses of worship. Muslims and Christians did this in different periods when the city passed from hand to hand. Israel did not do that. After the IDF entered the old city, Israel left the religious administration of the Temple Mount in the hands of the Muslim Waqf. Jews received access again to the Western Wall, but the State of Israel did not turn the Temple Mount into a Jewish prayer site. It did not destroy mosques. It did not close the holy places to Muslims. On the contrary, Israel established by law that the holy places would be protected and that freedom of access would be preserved for people of all religions. That's something that should never be taken for granted in the Middle East. Here in Jerusalem, Christians pray in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Just here, we just passed through it now. Muslims pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Jews pray at the Western Wall. In one city, under Israeli sovereignty, 3 religions can reach their holy places. It is not perfect. It is very sensitive. It is tense. There are security restrictions. There are days when police must close certain areas in order to prevent violence. But the Israeli principle is clear. The holy places are not a tool for destruction. They are places that must be protected. And that's exactly what Israel's enemies try to hide. Because if they admit that Israel protects the holy places, their narrative becomes weaker. If they admit that Muslims pray on the Temple Mount under the Israeli sovereignty, the claim that Al-Aqsa is in danger begins to collapse. And if that claim collapses, it becomes harder to mobilize the masses for war. This is why Hamas calls it attacks on October 7, the Al-Aqsa flood. On the morning of October 7th, on Saturday, Shabbat, Simchat Torah, Hamas opened with heavy rocket barrages towards Israel, and under that fire, thousands of terrorists crossed into the Israeli territory across dozens of miles. They attacked IDF bases. They entered civilian communities. They murdered families. They massacred young people at the Nova Music Festival. They kidnapped civilians and soldiers into the Gaza Strip. But when Muhammad Def announced that this attack is taking place, he did not speak about living conditions in the Gaza Strip, humanitarian crisis. No, he did not speak about the local conflict. He connected the attack to Jerusalem, here, to Al-Aqsa, and to what he presented as a war to defend a holy place. It was a calculated manipulation. Hamas knew that the name Al-Aqsa could set the streets on fire. It knew that this name could travel through Telegram, through mosques, through social media, and through propaganda channels. It knew that this name could activate emotions far beyond the border of Gaza. And this is exactly what Iran has been doing for years. It does not only arm terrorist organizations, it gives them a story. It tells them that they are not merely an Iranian proxy. They are an army on the way to Jerusalem. It turns this city into a flag of war against Israel. But here, on these streets, the real story is completely different. Jerusalem is not a battle slogan of the Revolutionary Guards. Jerusalem is the city of King David. It is the city where Solomon built the temple. It is the place that Jews prayed towards for thousands of years. It is the city that Jews in exile spoke of this city when they said next year in Jerusalem. And for Christians, Jerusalem is the city where Jesus walked, taught, was crucified, and rose from the dead. Here are the holiest places for the Christian faith. Here, on these stones, the Bible and the New Testament are not distant ideas. They are a landscape. They are a road. They are a gate. They are a wall. And there are streets. And for Muslims, Jerusalem is also important. Al-Aqsa is the holy place for Islam. Israel knows that. Israel recognizes that. And that's why it allows Muslims to pray here. The problem is not prayer. The problem begins when a place of prayer is turned into a warehouse for stones, fireworks, firebombs, incitement, and war. The problem is not religion. The problem is the exploitation of religion for terrorism. This must be said clearly. Not every Muslim is an enemy. Not everyone who prays at Al-Aqsa is an extremist. Millions of Muslims want to live, walk, pray, and raise their families in peace. But terrorist organizations and radical Islamist movements use this faith to ignite wars. And that is exactly the difference that the world must understand.
A new year has begun, and with it comes a renewed opportunity to make a real difference in the land of Israel.
The Rebuild Israel campaign is back. And this Tu B'Shvat, we are planting something powerful, an apple orchard in Israel's north, near the border with Lebanon.
But this isn't just about trees. It's about healing a wounded land.
Every tree planted brings new strength. It creates jobs, restores agriculture, and sends a clear message. The people of Israel are not giving up. Your support makes this possible. Your donations go directly to planting these trees.
Each tree is a symbol of hope, a symbol of faith, and your part in this mission leaves a lasting impact for generations to come. Plant a tree, restore the land, and build the future.
Go to www.tbn.org/rebuildisrael and be part of this mission, one tree at a time. But before we continue, if you understand how important it is to bring the full picture from the ground, not just the headlines, but who's acting, how they're acting, where the threat is coming from, and what is really happening behind the scenes, help us continue and spread the truth. Like this report, share it with friends, with family, and with anyone who needs to understand the Middle East without filters, and also click the subscribe button so that you never miss another update of Boots on the Ground. Look for me, Yair Pinto and Mati Shoshani on our social media platforms to see life behind the scenes here in Israel. Now, let's get back to 1967. Before the Six-Day War, Jerusalem was divided. West Jerusalem was in Israeli hands. The Old City, the Western Wall, and the Jewish Quarter were under Jordanian control. For 19 years, Jews could not reach the Western Wall. Synagogues in the Jewish Quarter were destroyed or desecrated. A broad line ran through the city. Walls, firing positions, fences, and military tension split Jerusalem in two. Then came the Six-Day War. Israel warned Jordan not to enter the wall, not to join. Jordan chose to open fire. Jerusalem was shelled. So Israel was forced to fight on this front as well. The battles were difficult. Israeli paratroopers advanced towards the old city of Jerusalem together with tank units. They entered through the Lion's Gate. And in one historic moment, a sentence that would be carved into Jewish history was heard over the radio. The Temple Mount is in our hands. That was not only a military sentence. It was a moment when an entire people returned to the place from which it had been torn away. Soldiers carried beside the Western Wall people who have not seen the holiest site in Judaism for nearly 2 decades suddenly stood before the stones. After 2,000 years of prayer and after 19 years of complete separation, Jerusalem was reunited. But the liberation did not turn Jerusalem into a city of revenge. It turned it into an open city. Israel did not expel the other religions from their holy places. It did not close the churches. It did not prevent Muslim prayer. It took a city that had once been divided and turned it into a city where in a single day you can see a Jew at the Western Wall, a Christian monk on the way to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and a Muslim family going up to pray on the Temple Mount. This is the Jerusalem that I know, that we know. A city of arguments, a city of tension, a city of history that does not let anybody rest, but also a city where every stone reminds us that the Jewish people did not arrive here yesterday. When we talk about the streets of the old city, we're not walking through a museum. Living testimony, Jaffa Gate, the Jewish Quarter, the Spice Market, Lions Gate, the Hulda Steps, the Western Wall. Every place in this area connects past and present. Here, David established his capital. Here, Solomon built a temple. Here, pilgrims came up. Here, the temples were destroyed. Here, prayers were born. Here, armies fought. And here, today, Israeli soldiers stand to make sure that this city does not fall again into the hands of those who want to turn it into an arena of a religious, spiritual war. And that brings us back to the present. Because the war with Iran is not disconnected from Jerusalem. It is only a new chapter in the same story. Iran does not need to send tanks to the Lions Gate in order to threaten Jerusalem. It sends money to Hamas. It sends missiles to Hezbollah. It trains the Houthis in Yemen. It activates militias in Iraq. It tries to ignite Judea and Samaria. It uses the word Jerusalem to unite around itself different forces that sometimes do not even like one another. This is an axis of terror with one story. Israel is temporary. Jerusalem will fall and the Jews will leave. But reality says otherwise. In southern Lebanon, the IDF is dismantling Hezbollah infrastructure. In Gaza, the IDF continues to uncover Hamas tunnels and weapons. At sea, the American Navy is choking Iran's money routes. And in Jerusalem, the people of Israel are still standing. We are still standing. Not as guests, not as foreign occupiers, as a people that return to our roots. And it's important to understand, our enemies are not fighting only against the Israeli policy. They are fighting against the very Jewish connection to this land. And that's why they deny the temple. That's why they try to erase the Jewish history from the Temple Mounts. That's why they tell the world that Jerusalem was always theirs alone. That's why they rewrite maps, books, sermons, and slogans. Because if there is no Jewish history in Jerusalem, then there is no Jewish right to this city. But there is history. It is carved in stone. It is written in the Bible. It appears in archaeology. It lives in Jewish prayer. And it stands against every attempt to erase it. Jerusalem Day is not only a holiday about military victory. It is a day about memory. It is a day about responsibility. It is a day that reminds us that liberating a city is not the end of the story. Sometimes it is only the beginning of a mission to protect it, to explain it, to defend it, and to make sure that it remains a city where truth is stronger than propaganda. And that's why this episode begins in the Strait of Hormuz and ends here in Jerusalem. Because the same axis that is trying to choke global shipping, the same axis that is trying to ignite Lebanon and Gaza, the same axis that's trying to buy time for Iran's nuclear program, uses Jerusalem to give itself false holiness. But Jerusalem does not belong to the Revolutionary Guards. It does not belong to Hamas. It does not belong to Hezbollah. And it certainly does not belong to those who murder in the name of God. Jerusalem is a city of faith, a city of pain, a city of memory, a city of prayer, the city of David and Solomon, the city where Jesus walked, a city where three religions meet in one place, a city that can be difficult, but also holy in a way that cannot be explained from far away. And still, even on Jerusalem Day, we do not close our eyes. The war continues. Iran is still trying to buy time. Hamas is still trying to rebuild its strength. Hezbollah is still trying to hold on in the southern Lebanon area. And the world still needs to choose whether it understands the truth or surrenders to lies. Jerusalem was liberated in 1967, but the battle for the truth of Jerusalem is still being fought every single day. And if Israel's enemies still use the name of Jerusalem to justify terrorism, will the world finally understand that real peace begins when people stop lying about the holiest city of the Jewish people? So, keep spreading the truth. Follow us, and most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on TBN Israel YouTube channel so that you'll never miss another update of Boots on the Ground. You can also look for us, Yair Pinto, Mati Shoshani, TBN, on our social media platforms to get the full picture. And the best thing that you can do in this situation is to unite in prayer. Remember, this is a spiritual war. It's all centered about faith. That's the reason why all these enemies want to launch attacks against us. So how do you fight a spiritual war? The only way that I know how to fight a spiritual war is by praying. So let's unite in prayer, that God will give wisdom to our leaders, that He will protect our soldiers, that He will give health, physically and mentally, to our children. And let's pray for the peace of Jerusalem, this city, all around me. And hopefully we'll see you here one day, very soon.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.